Hey everyone, this is OotiniCast episode 443 being recorded on July 19th of 2022. This is the raw version of the show being put out there on Twitch and recorded as well with all the flubs and so on and intact. This flubbed and flawed version will go out as a video on YouTube, but the audio will be cleaned up and then presented as a podcast tomorrow, and that is the plan. So let me make sure the stream is looking right. It does look right. Looks like DL Smoothwolf is in the chat already. Hey, DL. And we'll tweet this out, and we should be good to go right at the top of the hour. So we're heading to be right on time here. All right. Get into my Twitter app. All right. Boop, boop. Yep.
Because as soon as you post it, I like to post it.
Yeah. 443.
Double
Except,
it
of
up.
course, I didn't type it right.
KittyKissz.
Yeah, you know you've typed something a lot when you can just put like in the first letter of OotiniCast and just OotiniCast will come up as one of the options.
Yeah, it's that.
Like, I do type it a lot. All right, I've tweeted it out.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and retweet it as well since we got just a second here before the official show starts.
Retweet.
We're occasionally a minute or two late, but we don't try to go early because that's no good if people are planning to like join us at the top of the hour. Anyway, so yeah, so let's see, a little bit of personal news. There's been some SWTOR news, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to figure all this out. Okay. All right. Well, actually I have two different times on two different clocks, so one of my clocks is a little off. But I think we're at the top of the hour, so we're just going to go. All right, so my Audacity is going. I think yours is going too, Kitty, so
Yep,
I will get going. All right, going on 5 here. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast. Their compassion leaves a trail. This is episode 443, being recorded on Tuesday, July 19th, 2022. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, KittyKissz. Hey, Kitty!
Hey, Chill!
Hey, it's the two of us today, so what you been up to since the last show?
Oh, I have been, Kitty and I have been really busy doing, we're kind of changing around the colors that I use for my, I hate saying the word brand. But for lack of a crappy vocabulary,
right.
We're changing the colors up on our brand, and, which is really cool. And kind of because one of the thoughts that we had was everybody has purple, and I went purple because I thought it was. I don't know. I just liked the color, and I thought it looked like Twitch's color is purple, so I kind of went close to that.
Right.
And now we're gonna change it up, and it's kind of got a cool little. It's like orange, yellow. It's a very unique look to it.
Nice.
And I'm very, very excited about it. So,
that's cool.
I know that my Twitch channel is now updated with all that new stuff, and we're just going to be kind of rolling out all the on all the social media. And
oh, nice. So, yeah, I'll be checking that out then for sure. I haven't seen it yet, but I will definitely check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Been going down a bit of a YouTube art hole recently, so it'll be fun to see what you did art-wise with it. So.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be really cool. Well, Kitty Treats is a very, very, very good artist.
Yeah.
And she's really, really good with Photoshop. So she's been kind of taking the helm, and we're kind of merging the brands.
Yep.
So it's been really fun. We made a big headway with our double stream super setup.
Nice.
We were using an old Razer capture card. Well,
right.
A Razer capture card, though. The best of the external ones, I think it's called the Ripsaw. And we could just never get it to work.
Right.
The video worked fine, but the audio never
captured,
never
right?
got it to work. So kind of on a whim, I found a capture card for $40.
Oh.
And I bought it.
That doesn't sound too bad, yeah.
And it works as good as the Ripsaw.
Nice. Only with sound?
No, it didn't. We couldn't get sound working on that either. Yeah.
So literally as well as
100. What is that? What's a Ripsaw? It's like $160 or something like that. Anyway, for a considerable less divot on the old pocketbook, we got the same things, and I think we're going to give it away, as kind of a giveaway gift because we like to do stuff for people that are streamers. Like we've given away microphones and
nice
and cameras and stuff, to just kind of get give back some love to the community for people that are either starting streaming or just can't afford some stuff. So I think we're going to give away that capture card as like some sort of gift later on down the line.
Okay.
But we ended up, finagling some stuff and downloading some software from Elgato.
Okay.
And we got the sound working with that Ripsaw. So
is that is the Ripsaw the original one?
The Ripsaw is the original one.
Is the Razor one?
The Razor Ripsaw.
Razor Ripsaw. Okay.
Yeah. And it's through that audio and a bunch of tweaking in OBS, we finally got the sound working.
Nice.
And it's fine, but it's a pain in the butt.
Right.
So we bought, because Elgato makes software that you can use to finagle any product. And I have a couple Stream Decks that I use, and I love them. Very intuitive, great products. So we got one of the Elgato capture cards just to try it out.
Oh,
and
interesting.
It worked. Plug and play. Bam.
Wow.
Sound. We got audio. We got video. Everything. All praise Elgato.
That's amazing. So now you have two options. The Ripsaw works and the Elgato works.
Yeah, but we're actually going to say we're parting ways with what is it? Razor.
With the Razor.
We're going to say goodbye to Razor.
And say hi to Elgato since
your sound sucked.
Right. And, it made it really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, we got so we ended up getting two of those, and we finally gonna have it working, which is great. And
that is very cool.
Since I switched over to OBS, we have a lot more options as far as like the production value and stuff like that. And it's all starting to finally come into place, and it's so great. And I'm looking very forward to streaming with Kitty Treats with the sound working properly. So yay! If anybody else has a Razor Ripsaw and they've figured out how to get the audio working, you are a better person than myself.
And I'm sure there's some streamer out there that you'll end up giving the Ripsaw cards to or whatever.
I think we're gonna shoot it with a shotgun.
Oh, you're gonna go straight up Office Space on it.
Yeah, we're gonna put it, throw it into the river.
Play a gangster rap video and smash it with baseball bats.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So other than that, I've been playing my Sith Warrior / Jedi Guardian. We're about to get into the chapters, and that's been really, really fun.
And you're co-doing that, where like one of you is advancing the story, and the other one just kind of joins that person.
This is just my solo play.
Oh, that's when you're soloing. Okay.
Because she's the Sith Warrior, but I'm playing her as she's using the Empire, because in the warrior story you're taken in as a slave and now you're going to become a warrior. Well, in the backstory of the character that I'm playing, she, her family was taken into slavery, so she's going to use the opportunity to pretend to be an evil Sith. And then she's going to try to get up the ranks in order to find her family and rescue them.
Interesting.
And then as soon as she does that, she's going to try and go over to the Jedi. So we're at the point now where she's trying to find them. So, and that's kind of
so she probably had to do decisions. Right. And was she doing pure dark, or was she like sneakily doing some light side stuff too when she thought she could get away with it?
Dark stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was thinking about the dark side manipulating her for maybe the first part of Kotfi. like, okay, well, now I'm going to use this power that I have,
right?
And then have her corrupted for a little while, but then start to, once she gets the opportunity to work for the Republic, she's like, okay, this is the way to go. But I don't know.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Sometimes it's fun though when you find those little turns in the story, and then you you either go light to dark or dark to light, and you figure out it's this point in the story, like in the agent story. I've used the time when the agent in Act 2 sort of goes undercover but also the Republic's kind of screwing them over. It's sort of like a way to change the character a little, to okay,
give
so
him an arc,
give him a bit of an arc. In addition to the one that's already there, which is pretty good.
It's really fun. There's some of the people in chat that are kind of following the storyline and kind of, whoa, what are they doing now? Where are they at in the story? So it's
nice.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Oh yeah, I'm taking. This isn't happening yet, but I'm gonna eventually I got to get the character into the guild before a Tuesday, so that the points that I get are going to go to the guild instead of, not going anywhere. But I am going to make a PvP character, and I'm going to level them up PvPing. And in the meantime, and this is all going to be during the nightlife event,
right?
Because I want those. I need those glasses. I need the nightlife glasses.
I know. I never got them either.
I got.
They're hard. They were hard to get.
Stuff. I got multiples of the other stuff,
yeah,
and I got people in my community that are lording them over me, and that's coming to an end this year. You know who I'm talking about,
right? You know who you are.
You know who you are. But that's
nice.
That's about it for me, Chill. I think.
Okay.
What's up with chat?
All right, let's see. Adept W's here, Bofroy, DL Smoothwolf, Fortzer, Geeky Fried Rife, Kitty Treats, and Squishy Twitchy are all showing already, and thanks everyone for tweeting.
Hi everybody.
Yeah, and this is still the new version that doesn't really show necessarily everyone, just shows people who've been actually messaging, but that's fine. Thanks for being here, and as well as everyone else who is enjoying. So I did a little bit more of leveling my Bond agent, the one who's doing some PvP as well. And I gotta tell you that you definitely all you need is the class story and do some PvP, queue up while you're doing your class story, and you'll be well over leveled. But I did that for a little bit since the last show, but then I got a brainwave, and I decided to make Wesley from Princess Bride, and I've just been having such a blast with him that it's been mostly him for I think just over a week now. Very happy with his look.
It looks great.
There's a shot of him in the show notes. And yeah, it's been great. So the agent, Bond, and then Bond is the agent story, and then Wesley is actually the Inquisitor story. Mostly because it's the last story I have not seen in 7.0, and I do like to see in 7.0 the story with other classes' abilities. I think that's been for me one of the fun things of leveling up in 7.0 is doing it with wildly different abilities. So he's actually a Guardian. Yeah, so basically a swordsman, and I do have him actually using a Beskad sword, so he actually has a sword instead of a lightsaber.
That's good.
Yeah, there's also one. It's a different. It's like a traditional vibro sword, I think is what it's called. The only problem, and I have that unlocked as well. I could use that, and it looks a little bit more like the kind of rapier type sword that he uses in the movie. But the problem for me is that one is long enough that they wear it on the back, and it just doesn't look right. Like him running around with a sword on his back. It's just not Dread Pirate Robertsy enough. Yeah. So the Beskad sword does wear it at the side. There's one or two others in the game, but one of them I don't have unlocked, and it's not really necessarily better than the Beskad anyway. The other one is kind of a funky one where it's short, and then you so it does sit at your side. You draw it, and then it does this weird extension thing, and there's little lightning things in between each section, which is pretty cool looking. Yeah, it's obviously not good for Wesley cosplay, but it's a very cool one. But yeah, the Besked Sword actually is really nice. And the Besked Sword is kind of weird because it doesn't show up in where you'd expect it to, like on the GTN and in the collections, but it is there. And you can get it as a drop as well. It's, not terribly expensive, but it's not super cheap either. Like most things in the game, especially now. But it's been a lot of fun. He's now, he just finished Hoth, so we're about to end Act 2, begin Act 3. So, Zash is well, is in Kemval, and we're basically now going to have to figure out a way to defeat someone who's actually on the Dark Council, which is, obviously not easy to do. But yeah, I've been really happy with his look, and
he looks great.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun, and it's fun. Like, when I ding, I say stuff like, you are wonderful. Thank you. I've worked hard to become so, and just stuff like that. And
I was telling Shill before we started that he needs to get use a Womp Rat mount,
right, or a pet at least, yeah.
ROUS or something. Great.
And I don't know why I didn't think of that, because I actually do have a Womp Rat unlocked. I should use that for sure. That's really funny.
ROUS. It's so funny.
I don't think they exist. Yeah, I did say when I was on Terrace, was like, rat ghouls of unusual size? I don't think they exist.
Nice.
And then I jumped in and started fighting. Anyway, it's been a lot. It's been a lot of fun. And like I said, surprisingly accurate. Like the little hairstyle that they added, it's not the most recent round of hairstyles, but like the second most recent round of hairstyles, which is probably like 2 years ago or something like that. Has a little like the little gathering bun at the back, just like Wesley. Yeah. And in the front, it looks just like Wesley as well, with sort of the hair sort of swept back and a little long, but not long on the sides. Just kind of like carefree, very piratey. And I gave him the little mustache, and I've really been happy with it. So anyway, it's a lot of fun.
What DPS spec did you choose?
It's the equivalent of the Smash spec. I forget what it's called.
So the dot spec, right?
No, it's the direct damage spec.
Oh.
Yeah, not the dot spec. It's the direct. I looked at both, but it's like, I like the Guardian one for the Smash spec for him, just because the effects are a little bit, and they're a little more sword play like, and a little less like force abilities and stuff like that. Because there's basically, instead of force, it would be force scream if I had chosen it to be a Juggernaut. But instead, it's like this big sword slash. And it puts this big effect in front of you, but it still looks like a sword slash. Yeah. So it works pretty well, for sword play sort of feel. And similar for some other stuff. He also has the little jump in the 10-meter jump, as well as like the big jump-in jump. Right. And it's been a lot of fun. All right, so that brings us to the... Thank you. That brings us to the tip of the week, and I do have a tip that I kind of figured out while I was working on Wesley, actually. A couple of outfitter minor rules that I just wasn't sure about before, and I sort of figured them out, or at least semi-figured them out, so I wanted to kind of share. There is armor in the game, especially some low-level, old-style armor, where it looks different on different sides. So on one side, like, it'll be... if you're on the Republic side, it'll be a simple like Jedi headband sort of thing with maybe a little bit of jewelry in the middle, and then if you take that exact same piece of armor, put it in your legacy storage, go to your Empire character, it's a full face mask with like spikes and like really scary looking, but it's the same piece of armor. So there are quite a few older pieces like that. Most of the newer ones, and especially everything on the cartel market, never has that feature, but a fair bit of older stuff does. So if you have armor that has a faction look, then the faction will stay the same based on your character's story class. So changing your combat style will not change the look of faction-specific armors.
Oh,
which can both either help or hinder you depending on what sort of look you're looking for and what armor piece you're talking about. But it does mean that, like, if you do change, like let's say, I have Wesley as a Guardian, but I decide to make him a Sorcerer as a secondary style. it actually wouldn't change anything that is faction specific that I happen to use for one of his looks. It would still remain, it would still remain the way it is, which, because he's actually doing the Inquisitor storyline, it actually would be the Empire side. In fact, that was one of the reasons I found like this mask, but it was like faction specific to Republic, and then it's like, well, maybe if I use the Guardian combat style, it'll turn the look back, because I figure, well, like if you're using the weapon in your outfitter, it has to match your combat style. So maybe everything is sort of combat style related. But turns out, no. Armors that are faction specific will retain faction based on class story. There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's one way to get around it.
Yeah, and right, exactly. Like I say, it can either help or hinder you depending on what you're trying to do, but it is there. I also found out, and I haven't figured out necessarily all the details on this last bit, but if you're, say, on a smuggler combat style, you can actually put heavy armor looks in your outfitter and wear a heavy armor look even if you can't use that item in that combat style. So it doesn't matter, at least that doesn't seem to matter. Now, the character I tested this out actually had a second combat style that wasn't active that could use heavy armor. So I don't know if that's 100%, if it works for someone who absolutely doesn't have that sort of thing. But I haven't tested that yet. But basically, it's at least possible to wear like heavy armor looks with someone who is not using heavy armor using the outfitter. At least sometimes. So there you go. If you have a tip of the week, send your tip to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show for a chance to win a Tonfon or M83R droid pet code or M2B9 droid code courtesy of BioWare, plus a 450cc code as well, also from BioWare. Thank you. Yay! And that will bring us to the Mind Trap. And we did a little follow-up. So in the last episode, when we had Zamzam on, we had the PvP poll asking people, like, how often do you PvP? And it was the options were, it's my main activity, I PvP often, I PvP occasionally, or little or not at all. And we talked about that last time, and I did include a copy of it in the show notes so we can compare, because we did the same one for Galactic Starfighter, GSF. So, and I thought this was sort of, I thought the results were sort of interesting, maybe a little instructive. We'll go over them. In some ways, it's very similar to the PvP one. So It's My Main Activity was in 4th place, 2.7%. Oh, we had 525 votes rather. And thank you for the retweets. It's My Main Activity was, just like on the PvP version, the lowest, 2.7%, which was less than the 5.5% the PvP got. I do GSF often is 10.9%, which is actually better than the PvP often 6.3%. I do GSF occasionally was second most common, actually, at 20.8%. I'm kind of doing this in reverse order in terms of how often they go. 20.8% compared to PvP's 15.8%. Little or not at all, 65.7%, which is actually less than the PvP one's 72.4%. So that to me was kind of interesting. So people apparently, I mean, and obviously polls are tricky because they don't, people are self-selecting and so on.
All right.
But if we can take this taking it at face value, it seems that PvPers have a small group of people who it's their main activity, and that's a little bigger than the GSF's main activity group. But casual GSFers are a little more common than PvP, which I thought was kind of interesting. So, yeah. Unfortunately, it still means that almost 2/3 are not playing GSF, little or not at all, and that is unfortunate. And it's
beautiful,
right? Exactly.
Cool.
So we had some interesting talk backstage. What did you actually vote for, Kitty? Before we move to that,
with GSF, I went little or not at all, because I do it very, very rarely. Although I have been picking it up a little bit more because Kitty Treats really likes it. So when we do our dual streams, we'll pop in there and knock a couple of those out. And with PvP, it's occasionally. I like to throw it in just to break up,
break things up.
Throw in something different.
Yeah. And then it'll be
fun.
And it might become PvP often once the nightlife event hits, I suppose.
That's right. But I think I mostly do my PvPing under level cap, mostly. Because as soon as I hit 80, it just seems to, I just get killed so bad.
Right.
But, you know, well, I PvPers are a special breed. They deserve to be butt kickers. And,
they get very good,
they get really good.
I kind of agree that, it's a little nicer to be just doing the leveling PvP where it's basically a casual way. It's a more casual way because people, like even if you're a serious PvPer and you're just happen to be leveling up someone, it's not going to be as common and you aren't necessarily going to have like the most tricked out gear the way that, you know, an in-game PvPer who's serious about it definitely will. So yeah.
What about you? What'd you pick?
I said occasionally, although that's one of the other things about polls is this is subjective. I think if I'm being honest, I probably do it about as much as you, GSF as much as you, or maybe even a little less. And yet I put occasionally and you put little or not at all. So there's sort of like a, you know, there's a point of view thing going on there too. Yeah, I did say occasionally for PvP, and which is probably a little more honest, or at least I would say a little more accurate based on what you're saying, certainly. But yeah, I put occasionally. If I had put little or not at all, it probably would have been just as accurate. I'm right on. I would say I'm on the edge there. I do enjoy it when I play it, though. I must say, though, it's one of those things that's like every time I do a GSF round, it's like I should be doing this way more than I do do it.
Especially once you start getting your ship all done up, and you know, you kind of get the hang of what the fights are like. You know, the different things you need to do.
And the different kinds of ships there are, and what kind of upgrades you want to do. Yeah.
And then you find out who you hate more than anybody else in the planet Earth, and you just want to go after them the whole time.
Yep. Yeah, if someone's like really good with the kind of ship that they're on, it can be really tough to take them down.
You know, when I found, now this was during Galactic Seasons 1 when you could do GSF and get, you know, your points that way. I actually enjoyed GSF more than I did ground PvP. And I've noticed that kind of fluctuates for me. Like I'll be really into GSF for a little while and play that, and then not play the ground PvP, and then it reverses.
Right.
And I have no idea why.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea, but yeah, it's super fun though.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Shintar wrote, I voted occasionally, but it really means for me is in bursts. Conquest or Seasons can get me to binge on it for days, but then I'll drop it and not play for weeks. I think that's fair. It does seem that both PvP, most of the things in the game, in fact, like if there's some tangible reward tied to it, especially time related, it does a pretty good job of pulling people into it. So like, you know, like it's even as simple as like dailies. Like if you notice like the Galactic Seasons, like when there was a daily for like CZ 198, you know, and do CZ 198 twice, and you've done one of your weeklies already, and then you go there and it's like there's way more people than usual there. But
which is good for the GSF or the GSFers, because they're going to get more pops.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is great.
Exactly.
Good for them.
And Kitty Trees did respond to this too. I had not done any until this past week, and I love it. Right now I'm not good at it, but I would see myself playing it a lot more. It's very fun, and it reminds me a lot of old school LAN PvP, but it's Star Wars. Yeah, it's true. Like back in as early as the 90s, like sort of that early internet time, there was like a phase. I remember there was like several games in a row that were like World War II fighter pilot, sims. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Some of them were LAN, and some of them were like early internet, and those were really, really fun, and I sucked at them. I'm actually better at GSF for whatever reason. I maybe it's just jiving with it in some way, but I could totally see that relation to that. That makes sense.
I remember I got, it was a World War II fighter pilot game, and I randomly bought it, but it didn't have any of the keys identified, so I had to figure out the keys while I was playing.
Oh wow!
And I'm left-handed,
oh, that kind of
so
key.
it's like I don't know how to do anything. Yeah. It's pretty funny.
Let's see. And so Teresa said, now that I have 326 gear, once I finished my Galactic Seasons objectives, I found I didn't have a lot of reason to go in. So, and again, sort of like rewards being a big part of getting people to do it. Let's see. And SWTOR said, it's good for conquest objectives. At Star Command, we try to make dead content like that fun. GSF battles with bounties, kills, guildies, killing your guildies or officers for 50 million credits, and so on. Group events, and plus conquest seasons. So that makes things engaging. Yeah, I love that.
Great. That's really great.
And Manic wrote, I tried it back when it first arrived in the game, but I never really got the hang of the controls. And that's fair because, like,
that is fair.
Unlike PvP, where you're still basically playing your character and it's all these same abilities, and you're still basically playing, the usual SWTOR. GSF is a beast of a different color. It even has a whole different like section in your options for like keybind controls and stuff like that. So yeah, I get that. I totally get that. Empress Valen said once or twice a week for one of the weekly missions. One of them said if it pops. Apparently they're having troubles getting pops on their server. He didn't say which server that was, but and Graham said Galactic Seasons encouraged me to play, and apart from not being great at it, I'm no longer brutal at it. As you gear up your ships, things improve, and use F1, F2, F3, and heavy cannon on strike fighters. I always use the default weapon, and that sucks, but I like it a lot now. So there you go. Cool. So people are basically saying this sort of range of things, and one person actually said, "What does that mean? What is GSF?" Because I just wrote GSF in the thing, and if I get that's a fair point. I probably should have spelled out Galactic Starfighter. So fair enough. Yeah. Oh, one other thing before we go on to the news that I forgot to mention in my week is I've actually moved my office since the last show. So I'm actually at a whole different house, in a different room. The lighting's really wonky. It's just an overhead light right now, and it looks really weird. So I'm gonna have to get a floor lamp or something else that'll look a little nicer. So I'm actually over at my wife's place now. Like, we've been married a while. We live very close to each other. We see each other every day, but we just haven't been under the same roof. And this is like a big, nice step towards that. Yay! So I'm very happy about that.
Chill.
Thank you. Yes, I'm trying. It's about time since I'm in my 50s.
I like that you have priorities and you put your SWTOR poster up on the wall.
Yep, that's a bit. It's the only thing on the wall right now, and it's very visible. Because what I did is I wasn't sure where the camera should be exactly, so I tried a couple different ones. I also needed to. I'm using a different desk because the desk I never really fully liked the desk that I was using. And yet I used it for like 10 years. So that tells you how, how much of lack of a fire under my ass I had about it. But anyway, I'm now using...
You're 50. What do you want?
Ironically, I'm using an even older desk. This is actually an antique desk that I got as a kid, and I used it in high school. This is in the 80s. It's an old banker's desk. And
those are cool.
Yeah, it's a little beaten up. It's not the fanciest, it's pretty plain for that kind of desk, but it's well made, and it's kind of nice to be able to use it again after all this time. One thing though that's different is that it's a little high. Like the other one, I could, it actually used a keyboard thing that I would put the keyboard on, and that kept it nice and low. And this one is a little higher, so and my seat only goes up so high. My gaming chair only goes up so high. So I'm actually sitting on like an extra pillow just to get like another inch or two. And I've also been, playing around with the monitors and trying to get them the right height. And I have a thesaurus under one and a dictionary and another reference work under the other one. So at the right height. Because the first day I didn't have those under it, and they were like too low. And by the end of the day, it was just a few hours, but like because I had my head down, like my neck got so tired.
So tired. Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that crazy?
Like,
yeah.
That, because you've been doing it you've been in the same position for
right, and
decade.
You're just down a little bit, and it's like, oh, my neck was so tired by the end of that, and it's like, okay, and then I had to figure out a way to get them raised up, so that's why I have these reference works under them.
My chair at one point lost its the gas cylinder lost its pressure.
Oh no, yeah.
And it slowly
too low.
kind of fell down. And then all of a sudden I'm like, why is my neck hurting so bad? Like, what is going on? And then I realized, it's not at the same level.
It's not the right level.
Like it just kind of went down. I didn't notice it, and my back was killing me, and I had no idea what it was. And I went, wait a minute, things are a little wonky. So change the gas cylinder, boop, everything's fine.
Kuzi wrote, in my house, there's nothing more permanent than something that started out as temporary.
So true.
Yeah, it's true. And it wasn't like the desk didn't work. It's just that there's things I didn't like about it. It was a corner desk, actually, which was handy because there's not... It made it easy to sort of have my two monitors on because it had like a little up high thing that had it just at the right height. But like the little keyboard drawer that I was using, like it was really wonky and it was kind of sharp on one corner. I'd have to be careful not to cut myself on it. It's like, why did I not deal with it properly? I don't know. It's just one of those things. I think it's literally like a block. It's like a mental block. It's just it's just how it is, unfortunately. But when I moved, it gives me a good excuse to change the desk out, and I'm happy to have the old one. Good. It's all wood, and it's, like I said, it's really old and it's in good shape, not great shape, but it's in good shape, and it's also nice to have it back after all this time. So
it's funny you say about the pointy edge. I had my old desk I'd had for 10 years plus.
Right.
And I don't know, for the first 5 years, I just would scratch myself when I'd go around the corner a little too tight. And, it only took me 5 years to file it down, so that was...
So it finally wouldn't gouge you?
So it finally wouldn't gouge me anymore. I have scars on my arms still.
Oh, man.
Like waking up to go to the bathroom, you're a little out of it.
So you literally
one of these days.
Yeah, you basically dulled it with your own skin over the course of years. That's crazy. But obviously I understand. Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned the poster because yes, I did put it there, but if you were standing in the room, you would be like, why the hell is this poster up so high? Because it's literally like above head height, but just the angle and stuff, and I wanted to show on camera, so it's as high as it needs to be for that, and it looks relatively normal when I'm in the shot. But if you're standing in the room, it's like, and you can I can kind of see that is the closet. That's the top of the closet, and you can see it's like a couple of inches over the top. Like 6 feet up. Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty up high. But anyway. Yeah, so anyway, we'll get under the same roof at some point, and
good for you guys.
It's
I'm
all
happy
good.
To hear that.
Yeah, it's fun. All right, so let's get on to the Holo feed. I really should have done a Cantina talk, and I was actually planning on it, on doing one, but then it's like I messed up. That was completely my fault.
You're a busy boy.
We will do it next time. So we'll move on to the Holo feed. And it's basically, there's like two things, but it's really just one thing. It happened yesterday. There's not a lot of news, and unfortunately, okay. So the news is the big game update that they announced yesterday, which is, in some ways, is all about 7.1. It's going to be coming out August 2nd. Now, we've had the test server. We knew that they had wrapped it up. We knew that it was coming. We just didn't know a date. Now we know the date. Great. August 2nd is 7.1. That's the plan. But there's a lot of other stuff, and unfortunately, it's for what it is. This is a very short announcement. It's a few paragraphs, and there's some real bombs in here. game-changing things are going on in here, and they're just like blowing past them. It's kind of crazy. So, all right. So we'll go over it, and we're really gonna have to dig into this almost really word for word, almost, and sentence by sentence, because, like I said, they kept this very, very short, and there's a lot in there. Okay. They said, as many of you know, Star Wars The Old Republic recently celebrated its 10-year anniversary this past December, an incredible milestone for a game. On the heels of that anniversary, we released our 7th expansion, Legacy of the Sith, in February. Our next content update for that expansion, Game Update 7.1, is slated to be released on August 2nd. This update will incorporate a host of new content and fixes, including new daily mission arcs for Republic and Imperial players on the planet Manon. And that leads up to the daily area on Manon. They didn't specify it here, but that is what it is. So we know that there's a new story, which the way that they number things, if it's a 0.1 and it goes up from, if it was 7.0.2 or something like that, or 7.0.B or whatever, that's not new story. When you see it go from 7.0 to 7.1 like it is now, there's new story. So there is a new story, and in this case, it's the arcs for Republic and Imperial players on planet Manon. Yay! Challenging new operation for 8-player teams, which is not a completely new one, but it's like the more difficult version of the one that... Well, it's been on the GT a long time, but I think this actually is the first time it is in the game, now that I think about it. Yeah, this actually is the operation. People have been talking about it for so long, and I've been out of the loop of operations but yes, it is the new operation. And it sounds like there's some really interesting stuff going on. Like some of the bosses, the descriptions were kind of wild. So that's always fun. Operations almost always have some of the most interesting mechanics just because you can. Like when you have multiple players, you can do things that you can't do for solo content. There's only so complex you can make it for solo content. Improvements to our weapons and outfitter system. Yay!
I think we're getting 32 slots. I can't remember.
Well, you mean the outfitter system itself?
Yeah,
that was in the.
It was on test server.
For a while, and then it sort of went away, and people were wondering. So I don't know. I don't know if we have a final answer for that. Hopefully,
that's gonna be great.
It would be nice to have more slots for sure.
Right, so that you can. I think one of the great things about it is that when you slip over to whatever other combat class that you chose,
right?
If it doesn't match the same offhand and main hand, it takes those away. So if you have more slots in the outfitter, you'll be able to use those specifically for whatever combat class you have.
Right.
Which will be great instead of having to change it out every time, that you're putting a different outfit on.
Yeah.
Switching up your combat class.
That'll be nice to see how that works. Yeah. That will be interesting. Also, key revelations about Darth Malgus and the Sith Lord whose relics he has been pursuing. So this is something that's been coming for quite a while.
I can't wait.
Even before 7.0, we had the 6.0 story, and in the final flashpoint of that, we know that not only was Malgus going after some relics in that, but we also found out that as early as Ossus, when he was there, and he went through and he ransacked the Jedi library, he took some relics from there as well. So we know that that's something he's been pursuing for some time. It's also been in the 7.0 story, which I won't get into because I will try to avoid spoilers, especially for 7.0 since that's more recent and everything. But yeah, key revelations, and it was also in the the actual video for the 7.0 video that they made,
which is great. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
You check it out. Yeah, I can't remember the title off of my top of my head, but it's not named Legacy of the Sith though.
I know it's all,
but it's the one for Legacy of the Sith. Yeah. Anyway, there's more about Darth Malgus and the relics there too. So we're gonna have to we'll find out more. So I'm excited about that. So that's great. This is basically just letting us know about 7.1, which, we've had a pretty good information on for a while, but it's good to have the date, and it's good to have some, actual confirmation of a couple of details there. Definitely. We're excited for you to experience all this great content content next month as our work to ensure Star Wars The Old Republic remains a best-in-class MMO continues. Star Wars The Old Republic is known for its years of storytelling and capturing players' hearts over a decade now. All chapters must close in order for others to begin. We wanted to take the time to wish a fond and wholehearted farewell to Charles Boyd, our creative director. So this is sort of like they almost buried the lead, really.
I know.
And talk about those who are taking the reins for the game after his departure. Charles has been with the company for 16 years and played a significant role in the game's success. Star Wars The Old Republic truly is something special, and hitting our 10-year landmark together was remarkable. I would like to thank him for playing his part in making that happen. We'll miss Charles as a friend and as a colleague and wish him all the best in his next adventure. So we too at OotiniCast, of course, wish to say goodbye to Charles Boyd. He's been great. He's been very good to the OotiniCast. He's helped us out a couple of times directly, coming on, and also, of course, indirectly for all the work he's done.
Yeah, all the work.
And he's also been, kind of a character. He's, he does the cosplay. He has a certain look. And anyway, everyone likes Charles. And apparently, everyone likes Charles, in the team as well, which is a really good sign, actually. Mm-hmm. As expressed by Gary McKay, BioWare general manager, so this is even above Charles. It is always sad to see someone you appreciate go, but I wish Charles all his best in his next adventure. He leaves SWTOR in excellent hands with an incredible team that will carry forward our vision for the game. We are committed to SWTOR's future as we continue to work on the next Dragon Age and Mass Effect. So he kind of drifts off the topic a bit there as far as we're concerned, but there you go. Interestingly, they don't say that they are necessarily replacing the role of creative director. Right. They do, and now they're going to go through the people who are on the dev team who are sort of heading up the different sections, but they're not saying
who's taking their place,
who's taking creative director's place, or will there be a new creative director, or maybe they're going to run it in a slightly different way. I don't know.
Right.
They are not making that clear at this time. But let's go through what they do say. Eric Musco, lead producer. Eric has been a member of the SWTOR team in a variety of roles in his over 10 years plus at BioWare. Longtime players may know Eric from his many years as the Old Republic community manager. Yes, indeed. But behind the scenes, Eric has been working as game producer for several years. He looks forward to keeping our players' perspectives front and center as we continue to support and update the SWTOR going forward. So Eric Musco still lead producer. Ashley Rule, narrative director. Ashley has made major contributions to SWTOR over the years, from building cinematic scenes for launch to returning to create some of the most pivotal scenes in Knights of the Eternal Throne, and most recently has acted as the leader of our cinematic team through Legacy of the Sith. In her new role as narrative director, Ashley will oversee all the game's storytelling efforts as we continue to unfold the mysteries discovered in Legacy of the Sith.
Cool.
There we go.
Yeah.
Caitlin Sullivan Kelly, lead writer. Caitlin has been an indispensable contributor to SWTOR's narrative team for almost 8 years. Caitlin will carry our players' 10-year-long personal Star Wars sagas forward with all the new stories, characters, romances, betrayals, and impactful choices SWTOR is known for.
Nice.
Awesome, yeah. And Alan Copeland, UX director.
What's UX? I'm not sure.
UI/UX experience. I think it means the UI and also effects, essentially.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, user experience, essentially. Alan has been on the front line of modernization in SWTOR, leading the team that's updating our UI/UX experience to make the game more clear, accessible, and fun to play.
Nice.
Yep. And George Smith, gameplay design director. George has been a part of the SWTOR design team since well before launch, led our operations team up through Shadow of Revan, and now oversees the full gameplay team. So we have the different leaders of the various sections.
Really cool.
Yeah, and
I like that. That's really cool.
As far as I know, this and from what I've seen, from before, as well as what they're saying here, none of this represents an actual change to any of their titles or anything like that. It just seems to be like they are going to continue forward, and they're just not going to have Charles with them as the creative director. What that means, I don't know. No one knows yet.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously we're hopeful, but we don't know if this could mean great things, where like these people just work together even more tightly, and they move forward in whatever way that works best for them. On the other hand, maybe it means that someone from like higher up is going to be reaching down, which could be good or bad, and it would obviously be a little scary. It's always scary when that sort of thing happens.
Yeah,
we don't know. We don't know because they didn't say anything about the creative director role or how the teams are changing in terms of what form they're going to take.
I really wish that I'd gone to Cantinas. Made more of an effort. Got to meet Charles, but
yeah, and he would always show up in like his cosplays. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. And he always looked great in pictures. I was like, damn.
Yeah, he has a really good Jedi look.
Beautiful full head of hair.
Yes. Yep. Not everyone is so blessed. All right. There's still more, though. The world of game development is always evolving, and we're excited to chart out the journey for Star Wars: The Old Republic going forward and share more about those plans with you soon. Keith. So that was all from Keith. Although I'm sure there was plenty of, editing and checking and that sort of thing that there always is with this sort of forward-facing announcement. They also did include a note from Charles Boyd, creative director. So Charles is leaving. He did leave a little note for us. Even after almost 16 years, I still can't fully believe how lucky I've been to work on Star Wars: The Old Republic. The Star Wars galaxy has always been a huge part of my life since I was a kid. So, getting to play a role in SWTOR's growth from its initial vision to a colossal release and then to an incredible live service for over a decade has been an amazing experience. The team's passion, creativity, and dedication to this game are incredible. I don't think I can ever fully express how much I've admired and appreciated working with them every single day.
Nice, that's great.
Yeah. As always, there are some exciting things in the works for the future of SWTOR, storylines and planets and gameplay and characters that I can't wait to see come to life. I'm really looking forward to experiencing them all right alongside our players.
Yeah.
So, he is one of us now.
Yeah,
technically. One of us. So to the team, to our longtime partners at Lucasfilm, and to all of you, thank you so much for this amazing journey. I may be moving on from the project, but the Old Republic will never leave my heart. Charles. Very cool.
Very, very nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a little bittersweet. I mean, he really has been there from the beginning, like literally before launch. He was there and he's always been pretty high up in the chain too. And yeah, so it's gonna be a little odd to not have him around, but I guess we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Kitty? Any thoughts on this? Before we move on to the next
all
bit.
I know is that I am stoked that he got to do his Star Wars thing, and I just hope I wish him the best. Him and his own. I mean, we all know that life changes, and
right,
different. There's beginnings and ends, and I hope his next all his endeavors are awesome, because I always thought he was seemed like a real cool guy and really passionate about SWTOR, and I'm kind of sad to see him go, but I think where doors shut, doors open.
I would agree. I would agree with all of that. It does sound like he is moving on, I guess, to another company. Doesn't sound like he's retiring. It does sound like he's going to be doing something else. It'd be interesting to see what that is, where that is. It's pretty clearly not with BioWare, because I'm pretty sure they would have said something if it was like if they were just moving, if he was going to be doing something, with Dragon Age or whatever. Right. So whatever he's doing, I'm very excited. I'm sure I'll be checking it out. I, already follow him on Twitter and all that sort of thing, and I'll be happy to keep tabs on that and see where he ends up and what he's going to be doing.
Show.
Yeah, very exciting. The dev team did do a bunch of little notes of their own, most of them especially on the actual forums. Eric Musco wrote, "Hey folks, I know the recent announcement is going to take some time for everyone to process. We're right there with you. I've traveled the world with Charles. He attended my wedding. He's a dear friend, and he'll be sorely missed. Still, I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce or even reintroduce some of the names you read about today, as you will certainly hear from some, if not all of us, more regularly going forward. I suspect if you're here in the forums that I'm no stranger to you. I started in these very forums as a fan myself over 10 years ago, moved on to the community team, became community manager, moved to production, and now I'm typing this message to you as lead producer. That's quite a climb. For those who don't know, yes, before he was on the community team, Eric had one of the earliest SWTOR podcasts back when it was all just kind of like, there was like an early announcement that there was a team forming and like, hardly any news, and they just put together a fan podcast around it. Yeah. And it was very well put together, and he ended up on the community team because of it, which is really cool.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it because I'd listened to the podcast, and then hearing that he made the move over to BioWare, I was like, what?
Yeah,
you could do that.
Yep. And I think the podcast survived him, but not very long. I think after he left, it kind of unfortunately it didn't kind of hang around very long after he left. Maybe for a little while.
I think it stuck around until the game launched.
Yeah, until the launched, and then I'm not sure what happened after that. But anyway, which also tells you like he was probably or he certainly was one of the big driving forces behind it, which makes sense because he's clearly like a driven guy. Like if you meet him, like he's that sort of person where he's very focused. He knows what he wants, and he goes after it, and that's what you want to have in this sort of situation. So that was awesome. He also says, all that said, Eric says, I'm not the one bringing the creative prowess to the table. For that, you need to look no further than the incredibly talented folks that are leading up our design teams. And then we hear from the various people. A note from the dev team, Ashley Rule. Hello, I'm Ashley Rule, and I'm now the narrative director for SWTOR. So I guess this was technically an upgrade of some sort. They weren't clear with like what was being actually changed. But now the narrative director for SWTOR. I met many of you during this past Star Wars celebration. I had fantastic conversations with you all about how cinematic storytelling works in the game. I've been a part of that. There's actually a pretty good video on that. If you look on YouTube, I'm pretty sure you can still find it. And you'll see Ashley in that video. I've been a part of SWTOR several times over the years, including at the game's launch, during Cop v Kotet, and finally rejoining the SWTOR team for Echoes of Oblivion and beyond, as well as leading the cinematic team on Legacy of the Sith. SWTOR is incredibly special to me, as is this talented team that brings the game to life. Working with Charles has been one of the highlights of my career. He has led the SWTOR team with courage and compassion, as well as being an incredible storyteller in the Star Wars universe and delivering countless memorable moments for SWTOR fans. I think I speak for the team when I say we will all deeply miss Charles and his magnificent beard. Those are definitely some big shoes to fill, but I believe that we have been set up for success with many opportunities ahead of us, and I'm honored to carry the torch forward. I'm so excited for the future of SWTOR and can't wait to share it with all of you. Cool. There we go. George Smith wrote, hi, it's been a while. I'm George, and I'm the gameplay design director. I've been working on SWTOR for almost a decade now, first as part of the team that built many of the operations, now working with the teams in charge of player combat and systems. SWTOR has been a big part of my life for these last 10 plus years, and I'm excited to be able to be part of its future going forward. Alan Copeland wrote, hi everyone, I'm Alan Copeland, UX director for SWTOR, and I've been working on AAA games for nearly 2 decades, working on SWTOR specifically since early 2020, so 2 to 3 years. Pretty cool. Mm-hmm. My team and I are working hard to make SWTOR more accessible, approachable, and understandable for both new users and seasoned veterans of our game. We know that our players have a lot of love for SWTOR, and we keep that sentiment in mind to make the game the best that it can be. Nice. That's pretty cool. I'm wondering, like, some of the accessible, approachable, and understandable, which makes sense. MMOs, that's a very important thing. Because like if someone's new to the game and they have a hard time understanding it, obviously it makes it harder for them to stick around and become a long-term player.
Potential barrier.
Right, exactly. The fewer barriers, the better. Exactly.
Yes.
So hopefully, I'm not sure exactly what all that entails, but that's pretty cool. I would hope that accessibility also include some of the things like SWTOR was talking about when she was on our show a while ago, where, talking about like, people having various kinds of physical disabilities or colorblindness or other kinds of accessibility, which is of a more, direct nature. Not just like can a player understand the game, but in can a player with a disability actually play the game properly?
Right.
Another note from the dev team, Caitlin Sullivan. Hi, everyone. Hey, everyone. I've posted here before, but it's been a while, so allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Caitlin Sullivan Kelly, and I'm now the lead writer for Star Wars: The Old Republic. That's very cool, by the way.
That's really cool, yeah.
Some of you may remember me sharing my short story, Quite a Story to Tell, but I also had the pleasure of writing, among many other things, the Imperial Manon story for Legacy of the Sith, both versions of the Secrets of the Enclave Flashpoint, the All Worlds Ultimate Swoop Rally event, that's really fun, and some major scenes in Echoes of Oblivion, which is pretty cool because that's like the big, sort of final return of the Emperor and all that. Mm-hmm. Before I was a game writer, I was a narrative specialist with a capital N, capital S, so I'm not sure exactly what that entails, but apparently it's like an actual title, or was it, wherever she was. And my contributions to the narrative team go back as far as 2014, when I started providing feedback for the expansion story during the development of Shadow of Revan. In every Star Wars: The Old Republic update since then, my primary responsibility has been working with writing, design, art, and cinematics to ensure that our story content adheres to a particular standard of quality.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it sounds like she's
Make
been
it feel Star Warsy.
Right, and connecting the actual story to how it actually becomes a game, which makes sense. I mean, you can write a great story, you can have a great team of writers writing a great story, but until it actually becomes a game, gameplay and all that, then you don't have much. So Caitlin's job is very, very important, obviously. I've learned so much from working so closely with Charles over the years. He's been an amazing supporter, mentor, and friend. Like, everyone's like, it's like everyone has good things to say about Charles. Like, it's one of those things. It's kind of like, it's like the Tom Hanks thing. It's like, you hear so many good stories. It's like, that like, it has to be true. You know what I mean? No one hides being, a bad person enough that everyone around you just tells great stories all the time.
Right.
So, while it'll be very hard to see him go, I've also learned a lot from working with Ashley, and I'm so excited to continue supporting her in her new role. We both, and of course, and then Ashley is, again, the narrative director, which it makes sense that she would also be working very, very closely with Caitlin, since they're working on some of the same sort of story-related ideas. Let's see. We both recognize our team's talent for collaboration and creativity, as well as the passion for the amazing stories we tell, the twists and turns, the characters and relationships, the settings, and the lore. I love this game, this team, and this community, and I look forward to continuing our storytelling journey together. Apologies, Caitlin, for mucking up your final sentence there. And then, right. And then Jackie Coe said, I understand there's a lot to process right now. I am posting this to remind everyone to be respectful. Unfortunately, apparently, some people were being jerks. It does happen, and this is sort of a big potential change to the game. Well, it will be a big change to the game, but, some people were taking it amiss, of course, as they will. It's the internet. But yeah, so Jackie did have to remind people to be nice, which shouldn't be too hard, but apparently is sometimes. So thank you, Jackie, for that. So basically everyone, sounds like they know what they're doing in their own team. They're sorry to see Charles go. And what that means for the game going forward, it's hard to know exactly. And it's one of those things like, someone who's been important to a team for a long time, it is of course going to change things, but no one knows exactly what those changes are going to be exactly, and we'll have to see going forward.
Forrester writes, tinfoil hat Charles went to secret SWTOR 2.0 team.
That would be amazing. Well, it's always been said, like, everyone would love to see, like, basically SWTOR, but not on the Hero engine, but on a more modern engine. Yeah. Because unfortunately, like, they started working on this years before even launch.
Right.
And the Hero system was the one they just used at that time, and or chose to use at that time. And there's been so many more amazing ones since then. But switching it over is unfortunately just not. It's just not possible. No. It would take so much work. It would essentially be remaking the game practically from the ground up, except for you'd have these like audio files that you could use, and reference and tons of reference material that you would have to somehow switch over into an entirely new system.
Just make it all 8-bit.
Yeah. So yeah, but it would be amazing if. If BioWare is coming up with another, big story-driven MMO Star Wars game, that would be great. Obviously, whether that will ever happen, we don't know. All right, and so that was kind of the big news.
Yeah.
There was one little bit of information from Bryant Wood, just a little information. Syndicate plan drop. So Syndicate plans went away with the end of season 2. You couldn't get any more. If you have any, you can still go. The person is there to turn the plans into the reputation items, and that part's still true. They did decide that with patch 7.1, Syndicate plans will continue, but this will sort of restart really, to drop from mobs across the galaxy for players who have not completed the reputation track. Jawa Intel will also remain available, so if you want to use that actually, since it's the only way to gain plans from here out, that might make more sense to actually use it. I never found it necessary while the season was going, but if you just need a bunch of them, that it would be the way to do it. So anyway, there's a hidden Jawa on the fleet in the cartel area. You give them a bunch of the purple Jawa junk, and you can get this buff, and then you just go out and kill a bunch of stuff, and it increases the amount of plans that will drop. Let's see. Anyway, when you go up the reputation track, you can gain the legacy titles Shadow Initiate, Master of Shadows, and the Shadow's Veil. The availability will last until the start of Galactic Season 3.
That's great.
Yeah, so you have a little bit of time to actually do it, and then it sounds like it's going to be pretty hard to get it done after that if you don't have the plans or the reputation items.
How do you feel? I mean, I love the idea that they're going to continue to drop so that people can get those titles that they want and complete that. I don't know what I'm. Blah blah blah. Anyway, to get those, to close all that stuff down. Good Lord.
Right.
And I wonder if that's not going to be available next season.
Doesn't sound like it. I mean, I think it's going to be a new reputation.
Cool.
Or that's assuming great. There is one, maybe they're going to do something different. There'll be something else kind of going on. But yeah, I don't think they'll ever. It doesn't sound to me like they'll ever reopen this. I mean, this is sort of like the last window to get this reputation, really, which is fine. I mean, there's been like things like this in the past, and that's sort of how it should be. Like, you should be able to look back on your legacy reputation and be like, oh yeah, that was like the light dark event or whatever, from like 7 years ago or whatever, and actually have stuff that's in the game and that you have access to because you were there at that time. That's perfectly valid.
I really like that.
Yeah,
I think that's a great idea.
So they are however extending it a little bit. It was originally only going to be season 2. Now it's season 2 plus you can also get plans for the next. We don't know how long until the beginning of season 3.
Right, which I think is fair.
Yeah,
I think that's great. The people that did, that work.
Yeah, exactly. I would. Yeah, it sounds like you probably have at least a few months. I have no idea how long. Maybe it'll be even, as long as like sort of the end of the year. We don't know, but it could be a lot shorter than I think too, potentially. I don't know what their scheduling is on this, but yeah. So you do have one more way. Like maybe you just happen to be away from the game and missed most of season 2. But you're kind of having fun with that reputation track or whatever, or you really want the Shadow's Veil as a title or whatever. You've got a way to get title. It is. It kind of is, actually.
Nice.
So, let's see. There was one more thing, but let's see. the Manon dailies and the PTS, you could do those with characters who had done the new expansion, the Legacy of the Sith, with Manon and the Flashpoint done before you could access it. And so confirming that players' experience reflected in the PTS will be what goes live with 7.1. The dailies will unlock after the crit path is completed, so players will need to complete both. So in other words, you'll have to do basically all of the Legacy of the Sith storyline. Cool. So Legacy of the Sith and the whatever the Manon story will be as well. That's so great. And the interesting thing is, unlike past expansions where you could sort of jump content, you really can't jump to Legacy of the Sith. You have to work through like most of the 6.0 stuff at least. You can jump to the 6.0, then you have to work through your 6.0 stuff because there's no way to jump to the 7.0 start.
Not yet.
Yeah,
no.
Not right now anyway. So yeah, so if you want to get that daily area, you might have a little bit of working to do, like if you leveled up some other way. Or
yes, somebody came into chat the other day in the stream that was returning, and they're like, "Hey, what's going on? How's the game doing? It's great. There's a bunch of new stuff." And they're like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna get the resub. What do you think?" I'm like, "Yeah, resub. That way you'll get all of the content.
All the content.
So through it." So he does it, and the next day he comes back. He goes, "Well, now I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my other 30 level 75 characters." And I was like, "Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about."
Exactly. Yeah, if I go through my and it's now like 12 pages of characters, it's like you can kind of see and it mostly tracks as you go further. It's like 70s, a bunch of 65s, a few 60s, and one or two 55s and 50s. But for the most part, a lot of those characters I actually did at some point get rid of. Believe it or not, I actually have 70 characters, and yet I've deleted probably 20 characters at some point too.
Yeah, I went through and did a purge. The purge of 2022.
That's actually something I did do recently. I just made some time and I actually went through my whole legacy bank, my whole character bank, and just cleaned it out. Deleted all the 306 gear I was holding on to. I made, because of that thing where you can get titles and stuff from it, I made sure to at least put it on before I deleted it. But and then you have to do it on different characters because some of it's Inquisitor and some of it's Smuggler and whatever. And so that's all gone. Might be a couple hanging on. And then I cleaned up all the pages for my gifts, added a page for just buff stuff, especially the stuff you get from the daily logins. Crazy. It took forever. And then I took one of my characters, Lilu, and took all of my those boxes that you give to Dr. Ogurub and all those, because I'd just been kind of getting them but not doing anything with them. So I put them all together, took her, and she just unlocked them all. So I have all this all that legacy gear, those weird armor sets and stuff. And I was actually hoping for one particular one, which of course I didn't get because there's so many armoring sets that you can get out of them. Yeah, I remember we had a guest on years ago who actually got every last piece of armor possible out of it and had them in storage. That was amazing.
You should do it.
Well, yeah. Anyway, I'd have to do a bunch of dailies to do it. So anyway, I've got but now I have those in storage. So if it turns out I want a particular look and I go on SWTOR.com/armor and do a search, and it's oh, that's the that's the boxes from the from the people in the stronghold, and it's go and see if I have it or not. So yeah, I ended up with two whole bank things just full of that stuff. So I had to figure out a way to do it. So what I do is I did it alphabetically, sort of A through M and N through Z, and then because it all says it has the same word at the beginning, but the second word is what I based it on. And then the top row is all the helmets that I ended up getting, and then all the chest pieces and the gloves and the wrists and But at least it was a way to sort of make it relatively easy to find something if I have to.
Yeah, you can unlock those. Just
yeah,
make sure
if you
to
get
put them on one character.
you have to get the full set, right?
Yeah.
And I did. It turned out I do have several of them unlocked now,
Awesome.
but not a lot of them. And I still have tons of gear, but it's just like you need to get like that one. You know, like if you don't get the one waist to drop or whatever, you're just kind of like, I guess it's not unlocked then.
Yeah.
But yeah.
When I was unlocking them, someone else in chat decided to do the same thing, and we figured out that it's right around 300 boxes per person
per leader
in the stronghold, per leader, in order to unlock all of the armor on that leader. But it went, I think one time they ended up doing 400 boxes.
Sure,
because it's
RNG. Yeah, absolutely. I could totally see that happening. And the one piece of gear that I was hoping for happened to be one that I don't have very much of, because when you're doing like certain things, like when you level people up or you just do chapter 9, and you do find a findsman, so that you can unlock the ability to go get companions back. You get certain ones, but it tends to be Dr. Ogorubs and it tends to be Hylo Vizes. So I don't have as many of the Admirals or Cinerays. And the one piece that I was really hoping to get was a headpiece from Cineray, but I just didn't get lucky and get it, and I didn't have nearly as many of those. So what are you going to do? But yeah. So anyway, yeah, that was cool though. Because I noticed like, yeah, these are all in collections now, which is really neat. And of course, most of them were grayed out, but I did have a few that were unlocked, which was nice. Which was
yeah. As soon as I figured that out, I was like, okay, I gotta have them all.
I guess what I probably should do is like, if I get more of them, then I should probably see like, okay, I can actually unlock this, and then if I unlock it, then just toss out the pieces, because you can always make more. But yeah.
Right.
So yeah, so we're gonna have to keep an eye out for dev team changes. Like, is someone gonna be taking Charles's place, or are they just re-upping the way that the teams go together, so that his particular role isn't quite there, but they're doing something else to sort of fill that role, like, so like who has sort of like because he basically had sort of like the overall creative director, he had sort of like the overall overarching, control's the wrong word, because he didn't seem to work that way, but he was the head of all the teams.
The green light.
Yeah, exactly. And it'd be interesting to see like how they're going to do that, and who is one person going to do that, or is that now going to be a team function? I don't know. So yeah, this is one of those things. We will see. Anything else, Kitty?
Nope, that's all I can think of.
All right, then. That's a show. Let's see if I can get down to plug shoutouts and credits section. If you'd like to play with us in the Teeny Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our
Teeny Rage
Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @UtiniCast. You can find contact details for us on our website, utinicast.com, which includes how to subscribe using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live bi-weekly on Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, by streaming at twitch.tv/UtiniCast. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room.
Thank you, chat.
And we'll see you next show. All right. And let's see. I'll see if I can...
Zam's still going.
Is she? Okay, let me get to the dashboard so I can raid her. And where is it? Where is it? Let's see.
A flesh raider, baby.
There we go. Stream, raid, Zam. There she is. Yay! All right. Thanks for coming, everyone. And the updated, or the cleaned up version of the podcast will be out tomorrow, and all that good stuff. And here
Thanks,
we go.
everybody. We'll see you later.
Okay. And let me say hi to Zamzam if I can get back to the chat. Or no, I can just go to Zamzam directly. There we go.
Raid? OotiniCast with a raid. Hello, guys. Welcome in. Good to see you guys. How was the podcast? Oh my god. Hey, good to see you guys. Hope the podcast went well today. I'm currently doing some PvP on my SWTOR healer. Not my main, but still a lot of fun. Give you guys a quick shout out. Hopefully I don't die.
Okay, I'll stop the stream. Stop the